What if the next 48 hours could determine whether the United States avoids another major conflict in the Middle East or moves one step closer to it? Right now, intense negotiations involving Iran, the United States, and key regional players appear to be reaching a critical moment. President Trump says a potential agreement could be taking shape, and according to administration officials, the White House may soon have a much clearer picture of where these talks are headed. At the same time, military activity across the region continues. Israel remains engaged in operations against Iran-backed groups. Tensions are still elevated, and questions remain about whether diplomacy can actually deliver results before events on the ground move faster than negotiators can keep up. So is a breakthrough finally within reach? Or are we watching another chapter in a long-running standoff that could end very differently than many hope? That's the question everyone is asking tonight. To understand why this story matters, you have to look beyond the headlines. This is not just about one negotiation or one political dispute. This is about regional stability, global energy markets, U.S. national security interests, Israel's security concerns, and the future of Iran's nuclear ambitions. For years, Washington and Tehran have been locked in a cycle of pressure, negotiations, sanctions, threats, and diplomatic efforts. Different administrations have tried different approaches, but the central challenge has remained largely the same. Can Iran be persuaded or pressured into accepting restrictions that satisfy American and allied security concerns? And equally important, can any agreement be trusted and verified over the long term? Those questions are once again front and center. What makes this moment especially significant is the timing. The region has already experienced months of heightened tensions. Military exchanges, economic uncertainty, and growing concerns about escalation have created an environment where even a small miscalculation could have major consequences. That's why the next few days are being watched so closely. According to statements from President Trump, negotiations with Iran are continuing and could soon reach a decisive stage. The president indicated that administration officials expect to have a much better understanding of the direction of talks within days. The White House position appears straightforward. Officials say diplomacy remains the preferred outcome. The administration argues that a strong, enforceable agreement would be far better than a military confrontation that could cost lives and destabilize the region even further. Supporters of the negotiations point out that avoiding war should always be the first objective if credible diplomatic options remain available. But while diplomatic discussions continue, the security situation remains complicated. Military activity involving Israel and Iran-aligned groups has not completely disappeared from the picture. That creates a difficult balancing act. On one hand, negotiators are attempting to build momentum toward an agreement. On the other hand, military developments continue to create pressure that could affect those negotiations at any moment. Meanwhile, U.S. military forces remain active throughout the region. In a separate development, American officials confirmed that 2 U.S. helicopter crew members were rescued after an incident near the Gulf of Oman. Officials reported that the personnel were recovered safely and remain in stable condition. The cause of the incident is reportedly still under investigation. While that event appears unrelated to the negotiations themselves, it serves as a reminder of how many American military assets and personnel continue operating in one of the world's most strategically important regions. And then there is the relationship between Washington and Jerusalem. Recent reports have fueled speculation about possible disagreements between President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu regarding the best path forward. Some observers have suggested that differences may exist over tactics, timing, or diplomatic priorities. Others argue those reports are being exaggerated. Administration officials and supporters of the U.S.-Israel partnership continue to emphasize that both countries share many of the same broad strategic goals, even if debates occasionally emerge regarding the best methods for achieving them. That distinction matters. Sharing objectives does not necessarily mean agreeing on every step along the way. In international politics, allies often debate strategy, even when their long-term goals remain aligned. And that appears to be one of the key questions surrounding the current situation. Not surprisingly, reactions have been intense and divided. Supporters of President Trump's approach argue that combining diplomatic outreach with sustained pressure has created leverage that previous administrations struggled to achieve. They believe Iran has stronger incentives than ever to reach an agreement and avoid additional economic and political pressure. Many of these supporters see the current negotiations as evidence that strength and diplomacy can work together. From their perspective, the possibility of a deal demonstrates that firm policies can bring adversaries to the table. However, critics remain skeptical. Some argue that Iran has historically used negotiations to buy time while avoiding major concessions. These critics question whether any promises made during talks will ultimately translate into lasting compliance. Their concern is not necessarily about signing an agreement. Their concern is what happens after an agreement is signed. Will commitments be verified? Will restrictions be enforced? And what consequences would follow if either side believes the other is failing to meet its obligations? Those questions continue to dominate much of the public debate. There is also growing discussion among foreign policy analysts regarding the broader regional picture. Some experts believe the current moment represents a genuine opportunity for de-escalation. Others warn that expectations should remain realistic. After all, negotiations involving Iran have often experienced periods of optimism before encountering significant obstacles. That history explains why many observers remain cautious despite recent positive signals. So where does all this go from here? At this point, several possible outcomes remain on the table. The first scenario is the one the White House appears to be aiming for. Negotiators reach an agreement. Verification mechanisms are established. Both sides claim success. Regional tensions begin to ease. Markets respond positively, and the risk of a larger military confrontation declines. That would be the most optimistic outcome. The second scenario is more complicated. Negotiations continue but fail to produce a final breakthrough. In that case, discussions could drag on for weeks or even months while uncertainty remains. We've seen similar situations before. Deadlines get extended, new proposals emerge, progress is claimed, then additional disagreements appear. The third scenario is the one policymakers are hoping to avoid. Talks break down entirely, tensions rise, military risks increase, and decision-makers face difficult choices about how to respond. Nobody can say with certainty which path will emerge. What we do know is that verification appears to be one of the central issues. Administration officials have repeatedly emphasized that any agreement must be more than words on paper. They argue that implementation and compliance will ultimately determine whether a deal succeeds. That's a crucial point. History shows that agreements often survive or fail not because of how they're announced, but because of how they're enforced. Another important factor is regional perception. America's allies are watching closely, Iran is watching closely, global markets are watching closely, and adversaries around the world are paying attention to how Washington manages this challenge. Because beyond the specifics of this negotiation lies a broader question about American influence, deterrence, diplomacy, and leadership on the global stage. As of tonight, the situation remains fluid. The White House says progress is being made. Iranian officials continue to send mixed signals. Regional tensions have not completely disappeared, and critical questions remain unanswered. But one thing is clear: the next few days could be extremely important. Will diplomacy deliver a breakthrough? Will both sides find enough common ground to move forward? Or are deeper disagreements still waiting beneath the surface? We're likely to get some answers very soon, and when those answers arrive, they could shape not only U.S.-Iran relations, but the future direction of the Middle East for months or even years to come. This is a story that is moving quickly, and we'll continue following every major development as it happens. If you found this report helpful, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our latest coverage. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Smells like a cheap cologne perfume, trying to act like I don't care, but your ghost is everywhere. You say we're good, but we're not the same. Now I'm dancing in the pouring rain. Thought we would forever, guess I was wrong. Now I'm just another sad love song. You left me on red, yeah, no reply. Got me overthinking every night. Was it real or just a vibe? Guess I'll never know this time. You said ride or die, and you dipped so fast. Now I'm stuck living in the past. Yeah, you played me like a game instead. Now I'm crying cause you left me on red. Cause you left me on red. Your playlist still got feel the same. That's insane. Posing pics like you're okay while I'm breaking every single day. You said no drama, no goodbyes, but you vanished like a lullaby. Now I'm staring at my screen like, what did you really mean? Every text I never sent, every word I still regret. You moved on like nothing's wrong while I'm stuck inside this song. You left me on red, yeah, no reply. Got me overthinking every night. Was it real or just a vibe? Guess I'll never know this time. You said ride or die, then you dipped so fast. Now I'm stuck living in the past. Yeah, you played me like a game instead. Now I'm crying cause you left me on red. Maybe I was just a phase, just a spark that fades away. But you were my whole damn sky. Now I'm learning how to say goodbye. Yeah, I'm done with your mixed signals, your late night, I miss your riddles. You lost me, yeah, that's your loss. Now I'm stronger, I'm my own boss. You left me on red, but now I'm fine. Got my heart back, yeah, it's mine. Wasn't love just a disguise? Now I see through all your lies. You said ride or die, but I survived. Now I'm finally feeling alive. Yeah, you broke